played hard to get with my husband for months before we started dating. And now he's leaving me for a woman who pursued him and claims I never appreciated him. Oh man, I'm just so furious and confused right now. Everything feels completely messed up, and I can't even bring myself to talk to my best friend about it because it hurts too much. My husband just told me he's leaving me, and I can't wrap my head around the reason. Let me backtrack a bit. I am 34, and my husband is 38. We've been married for almost 2 years and dated for 2 years before that, so we've been together for just over 4 years. He's always been pretty insecure, despite having a great personality, or so I thought. He's generous, caring, and open about his emotions. When I first got to know him, I was shocked he was single. He had only been in 2 serious relationships before me, each lasting more than 5 years. He always said it was because he was shy, thought he was ugly, and believed women didn't want anything to do with him, especially good-looking ones. I've always considered myself fairly attractive, and he constantly told me how lucky he felt to be with his dream woman, especially someone as attractive as me. At first, I was cautious. I let him court me for a while before agreeing to go out with him. I was wary, thinking he might have some dark secret, and I didn't want to seem too easy. But it turns out he's just a really sweet, shy guy. I don't think he's ugly, not super handsome, sure, but his charm quickly made all that irrelevant. Once we started dating seriously, things moved fast because everything felt perfect. Well, apparently, some time ago, he was having lunch alone outside a restaurant when a woman walked by and struck up a conversation. He showed me a picture of her when I asked, and she's absolutely gorgeous. Maybe I'm exaggerating because I'm so mad, but she definitely looks better than me. They didn't talk much, but she was very friendly, and they exchanged numbers and started texting more and more. He said she openly pursued him even though she knew he was married, saying she couldn't let this opportunity pass. He was hesitant at first, but also excited because nothing like this had ever happened to him before. He's always said that attractive women have it easy because guys approach them, whereas he had to work hard for every date. I always told him being attractive has its own problems, but he'd remind me how hard he worked to get me to go out with him. He swears they've only met for lunch one more time after their initial meeting and insists that it's not yet an affair. However, he wants to move forward with her because she's the first woman who's genuinely interested in him, without him having to make all the effort. He said he feels it's the right thing to break up with me because continuing contact with her would feel like emotional cheating, and he doesn't want to cheat on me. I'm devastated. I know there's nothing I can do. I want to be mad at him, but I'm also mad at myself. I really liked him when we first met. Why did I play hard to get? If I had just been upfront about my feelings, maybe he wouldn't be interested in this woman. But I always thought if a woman pursues a man, she seems too easy, and I didn't want that. Now, it's coming back to bite me. I'm also mad at him, though. He didn't cheat on me, and he's acting exactly how I've always said people should if they fall for someone else. Part of me wishes he had actually cheated. It might make this easier. Thanks for letting me rant. I don't need advice because I know I'm a mess, but it just hurts so much. He says this is the first time he doesn't feel like he's begging for affection, and I get that, but it still sucks. I guess I gave him a hard time because I wanted to make sure his intentions were genuine. Maybe I shouldn't have, but as a woman, I always felt that was necessary. I wasn't initially physically attracted to him. He's chubby and has early hair loss, but his personality won me over. I just wish I could see it from his perspective. I mean, back in college, I probably would have scoffed at dating someone like him, but I was naive then. I don't get why this woman approached him, but it doesn't matter. He's not exactly Chris Hemsworth, but whatever. I mean, men and women are different, and he's always felt ugly. But I married him, so I don't know. Wow, I just found out that guys really appreciate compliments, too. Honestly, I never knew that was a thing because I've never really had to try hard to meet men. But, let's be real, I had to sift through a bunch of losers along the way. I can't just say I was right about him settling for me. He's always been super honest and seemed madly in love with me. I don't think he actually cheated, though. If he did, it might have made it easier for me to hate him. Well, sort of. If I had told him up front that I liked him, it might have made me look desperate. Traditionally, the man pursues the woman, right? I mean, you don't usually buy your husband flowers or jewelry or book him a massage, do you? So don't stress too much about that woman being drop-dead gorgeous and going after him even though she knew he was married. That just shows she's bonkers and trashy. Eventually, karma will catch up with both of them. This whole situation is like the trash taking itself out. Your husband should have worked on his self-esteem issues instead of jumping at the first woman who showed him some attention. You're not to blame here. Spearun chimed in, saying that if she actively pursued him knowing he was married, it really says a lot about her character. Throwing away a 4-year relationship because some random hot person came along usually doesn't end well. P251 added that it's just crazy. I thought I was insecure, but he definitely takes the cake. It's like you dodged a bullet, because imagine dealing with this after 10 years of marriage and 3 kids. I'm really sorry, but I don't think there's anything you could have done differently to get a different outcome. He's always going to be insecure. This experience might validate him for a bit, but he'll continue looking for validation outside of himself. And wow, this post blew up. Thank you all so much for your comments. It's much appreciated, and some of you made me really think. I still feel like this wasn't warranted. If he was so unhappy, he should have told me. Maybe I wasn't the best wife, I didn't show him I loved him or put in much effort. Someone mentioned he was starving for attention, and I guess that's partly my fault. But just dropping me like this isn't right. I managed to talk to my BFF, and we're meeting later so I can tell her everything. She's even taking me out for a spontaneous spa weekend to help clear my head. I was so scared to talk to her, but she wasn't condescending at all. She's the best. I couldn't have mustered up the courage without your support, so thank you all so much, even those who were critical. Update. A couple of days ago, I posted about my husband suddenly leaving me because a woman showed active interest in him for the first time. Since I can't link to previous posts, check my profile for my post history. Yesterday, my husband and I met for the first time since he left last Friday. It was really awkward, and I could tell he genuinely feels sorry for hurting me. Many of you called him a douche and a cheater, and I get that. I'm mad at him too, but you don't know him like I do. He's a very honest person and terrible at lying. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and I could sense his feelings. Our conversation was a blur, but here's a summary. He told me he really loved me and still does, but she approached him over a book he was reading, written by her uncle, who had some funny stories about its creation. They hit it off over their shared interests in sci-fi and gaming. 2 weeks ago, he started wondering if he should tell me about her, since they went from acquaintances to what he considers friends. I pointed out they haven't known each other long enough to be friends, but he insists she's genuine. He feels more connected to her than to me, which stings, because I've always believed opposites can complement each other. He seems happier with someone who shares his interests more closely. After moving to his friend's place, he reread his conversations with Jasmine and realized she had been flirting with him before openly expressing her feelings. It didn't start out flirtatious, but it eventually went there. He admitted that he totally missed what was happening. He opened up the app on his phone and showed me the initial messages. He might have tuned out once the flirting started, but the early messages seemed really friendly. The flirty parts, though, were blatantly obvious to me. He actually blames himself for missing the signs and said it doesn't change his feelings for her. He should have noticed it earlier and decided to pursue her sooner. That kind of broke me, and I started sobbing because it felt like I never stood a chance compared to Jasmine. He wanted to console me, and I let him for a few minutes. But then, I needed some space again. It felt both good and bad to be in his arms. Eventually, I asked him why he found her so attractive, enough to leave me, his wife, for even the possibility of being with someone else. I mentioned that someone on Reddit suggested she might be a scammer, or just interested in breaking up marriages. He denied that vehemently. Supposedly, they met last Sunday for dinner and discussed how she approached him even though he was married. She claimed to have a really bad conscience about it and said she wouldn't have done it if she didn't feel such a deep connection between them. Hearing that was a struggle because if it's true, it hurts me, and if it's not, it hurts even more that he falls for such nonsense. Then he went into excruciating detail about his dating life, how long he was a virgin, how he was treated by girls in middle school, high school, and college. He talked about always having to be the one initiating things and feeling unworthy. This made him bitter, but he always believed that someone who truly fits his personality wouldn't make him jump through hoops. Instead, they would outright tell him they were interested. He says he loves me dearly and has always been grateful, but he felt somewhere between a beggar and part of a pity party, as if I bestowed my companionship on him rather than actually liking and wanting him. When I asked if he settled for me, he denied it vehemently. He said I treated him better than any woman before when we started dating, and he thought I was what he had been looking for. Before meeting Jasmine, he never felt like he needed more. I tried to explain that I wasn't with him out of pity and why I made him wait 3 months. I admitted that I might not have appreciated him as much as he deserved, which made him tear up. He said he was grateful but unhappy that he hadn't communicated his feelings better. I told him it felt like he was blaming me, and he looked genuinely shocked. He apologized many times, saying he didn't want me to think he had any bad feelings about waiting. He said no one is to blame, especially not me, and that I've been a wonderful wife. With Jasmine, it just feels different, a deeper connection. He realized that what he truly wanted was something else. He said reconciliation wasn't an option because we aren't right for each other. Even if it doesn't work out with Jasmine, he knows now that he needs something I can't provide. I mentioned marriage counseling, and he said it's not about our marriage having issues, but about us not being the right match. There were more things we said, and maybe I'll add more details later, but right now, I'm too mentally exhausted. It hurts because I think my marriage is over. He looked genuinely miserable, and I don't believe he wants to hurt me. I wonder if I want to hurt him, though. It's not like this is the first woman to hit on him since we started dating. It's the first time in his entire life. Personally, I can't imagine that since I get hit on at least once a day. I just thought I was enough for him. I realize I took him for granted. I saw myself as the prize he constantly had to fight for. I always thought that marrying him and telling him I love him was enough. He's not very physically attractive, insecure, nerdy, and shut off unless he's lawyering, which is the only thing he feels he's good at, even though he's good at many things. When he was younger, he wasn't just chubby, he was outright fat and hated himself for it. I believe him because his sister has told me how miserable he was. Looking back, I obviously should have appreciated him more. But if there had been no Jasmine, how seriously would I have taken him? I know myself, I might have just brushed it off. So I just didn't want to come off as perfect because, honestly, this whole screw-up has shown me I'm definitely not. I mean, frown. He's got such a great personality, or at least that's what I thought. He always seemed so sweet, caring, and helpful. When we talked, his appearance quickly faded into the background because his character shone through. He's super honest, open-minded, and really believes in justice and all that good stuff. He's not a loser. He's actually a really sweet person. I think no woman went for him because they never gave him a chance, never really talked to him. Now, well, the reality of online dating is probably going to hit him hard. I can just imagine the update in 6 months when he's trying to come crawling back, because Tinder scarred him. L. Shayton Springer is already patiently waiting for that moment. Reckless Secretions thinks that she might take him back unless she finally gets super angry and uses that anger to move on. Brewy shared a story that's kind of similar. Her ex-husband was insecure because he was short and skinny. He went on a school trip with one of their kids and met another mom there. They exchanged numbers and started texting. He later said he wanted to open up their marriage and try ethical non-monogamy, which she had mentioned before, but never really pushed for. She agreed and didn't have any problem finding dates. The other woman only wanted to keep things secret, though. Meanwhile, her ex felt totally emasculated by Tinder, while she had a nice, regular boyfriend and even reconnected with her first crush. They ended up together. She had initially offered to close their marriage again, but he said that would just cause resentment. Long story short, she's now happily divorced from her ex and married to her soulmate, who treats her and her kids way better than her ex ever did. Her new husband actually helps with cleaning and cooking without being asked. Her ex had one brief relationship and now volunteers for a non-paying committee, traveling a lot on the weeks he's supposed to have his kids, leaving them with his mom. StrangeBot7 thinks people need to read all the comments the original poster left, claiming no one would feel bad for her if they did. Nasol thought she looked bad even with the comments included. Truewolf Girl 18 got bad vibes from just the ones that were posted here, feeling the way she treated him wasn't right. Nervous Mungor 5427 agreed, saying the original poster never hit on her husband, and Jasmine was the first to do it. GTFO thinks she was playing games, making her husband chase her, and in the end, he found his self-respect and realized he deserved to be desired. International Encore, or Cry 1886, started reading the post, thinking it was a typical story of a younger girl mildly interested in an older guy. The guy throws away his life for her, only to realize it was a mistake a week or two later. And then we start talking about how she led him on for 3 months, despite seeming interested before. It seems like she would have called him a loser in college. So, calling people losers now? It seems like he realized his self-worth, and she's mad because someone she saw as below her league is ending the relationship.